Hey guys, I am here to do another ARC review today, and again, for whatever reason, I am a little bit late in the week. It's fine. We're figuring it out, and I'm at least getting stuff up right once a day of a week. What does it matter? Anyways, I am here today with an ARC review of Right Where We Left Us by Jen Devin, and let me tell you something. I have never had a book that I was so frantic to finish. Like, I would definitely have read this in one sitting if I hadn't had a commitment. And this commitment was one of my favorite people in the entire world, and I was still just like, I don't want to go. I want to finish this book. But at the same time, been so incredibly irritated by this book. I am so flummoxed by this entire thing, and I just can't wait to just tell you about it. So Right Where We Left Us is the story of Temperance Jean Madigan and Duncan Brady. Temperance does go by TJ throughout. I hear the name Temperance and I just think of the TV show Bones, but it's fine. They have known each other since they were children, and they have kind of always been attracted to each other, and then they were together for like one summer when they were teens. But the thing was that they had kept it a secret from everybody, their whole family. And so nobody really knew about it. Something happened pretty significant with Temperance's health, and they broke up. Again, nobody really knew what was going on, but now they are being thrown back together now over 10 years later at the wedding of Duncan's brother and Temperance's best friend. Again, these are people who have basically grown up their whole lives together. They all know each other. They've known each other for a really long time. And so it's like this very big extended family situation. Now, what I didn't know, and you would not know even if you looked at it, at least as of this video, on Goodreads, Storygraph, Edelweiss, which is where I got the ARC of this book, so thank you to the publisher at Edelweiss for my free advance copy, is that this is technically the second book of a series. There is a whole first book where the couple that is getting married in this second book falls in love, and it's this whole thing, and you find out that Duncan's brother, who's now getting married, like was married for a while and has a kid, and they had a divorce and it was messy, and there's a winery that this family is trying to revive. They have another brother whose book is clearly being set up with the other best friend. Listen, if you had told me that this book was number 5 in this Brady family series, I would have believed you. There are so many characters that you have to get to know and clearly have this whole backstory. So when I found out that actually there was only one book in this Brady family series, I don't even know if it has a series tag because they're not tagged anywhere, I was genuinely flummoxed because I felt like I was behind the 8 ball from the beginning. There are some of these like family romances that you can read out of order, understanding that there are some inside jokes that you won't get. I have never so strongly felt like, do not read this book if you have not read the first one, because I didn't read the first one, and like I said, I felt like there was like 4 books of content and relationships that I just didn't have. So I don't even know if I can like explain half of the personal context or how much of it is really even necessary to understand the plot of this book, but there are family members and friends with backstories headed all the way back to childhood throughout this book, and not in the way that I usually enjoy. Anyway, where was I? So because Duncan and Temperance are both part of the wedding party, needless to say, throughout this entire wedding, they are getting thrown together in ways that start to feel a little bit like some people in the family are meddling, but there are tons of other layers to this as well. Temperance's family is very well-to-do but very aloof, and they want her to be a part of their medical foundation, whereas Temperance just wants to be a pediatrics doctor. And Duncan, you come to find out, never really finished school, and so he's always felt very less than to Temperance, feeling like, you know, she has her like MD and he's a guy who never finished college. So there's like the kind of like class and money thing going on there. And then a couple of other layers, like I said, with Temperance's health and some things that are revealed slowly throughout the novel, so I don't want to dig too deep into them because they are treated as reveals. There is, even though it is a dual POV novel, there are things that you know about Duncan and you know about Temperance, but they don't know about each other. And so I don't really want to spoil too much of that. So like when I describe it like that, it really does sound like this book has the makings of a lot of things that I really appreciate in my romance novels, which is a very layered storyline, a very like complex set of relationships. Like it isn't just, you know, the two people who are falling in love, who are the center of the story. There's all of this other stuff going on. But like, here's the thing. Like I've already said, one, it's almost impossible to keep track of all of the family members and all of the relationships and all of the history and all of the connections. And then second of all, I really do not get Temperance and Duncan's relationship. From the time that they appear on the page together from the first time, like they're both talking about how they have an undeniable physical attraction to each other, and that is written really, really well throughout this book. I think it's one of the threads that like kept pulling me through the book. Like I couldn't put it down because this really is a slow burn romance, even though they've already been together. Because these are two people who were like trying to find their way back to each other, and the sexual tension is great. For all that they have been around each other for all this time, I am not sure exactly what the personal growth here is supposed to be. It feels like every single time they're at the cusp of talking about something really important, it just kind of gets like fluffed off to the side. Like they don't really talk about it and then they just kiss, or they don't really talk about it and then they just sleep together. And you're like, what? Their conversations with each other just felt so ridiculous, and they weren't even conversations. They were like sentences, which sound good as sentences and sound really dramatic and wonderful for a romance novel, but actually have no substance. So even though there was this fantastic like tension between the two of them, and I just kept reading and reading and reading, and I was like, eventually they are going to kiss and get together, back together, I was just like, I don't know if like emotionally I actually want you two to be together, because despite the number of things that get brought up throughout the book, like they deal with so few of them in any substantive way. It's almost like they are just like, okay, we can mention that this is a problem, and now that we've mentioned it, it's not a problem anymore. And I was like, what? What is happening? Why is it happening like this? And I don't like it. This reading experience just felt so bizarre to me because, like I said, I was very invested in the writing itself, and I wanted these characters to like get some kind of resolution to this tension that was between them. But if you actually like paid attention to their relationship, and it was like these two planes of existence that were just not matching up. I at once wanted them to like kiss, but I was also just extremely irritated by their relationship and the way that they were like fixing it. Again, they weren't really fixing it. And I think that's the thing that I really like about second chance romances, is these abilities for and the opportunities for our characters to talk about these relationships that they've had in the past when they were really different people, they were younger, or other things were happening, and to kind of like dissect that from a more adult point of view and be like, okay, we're not gonna do that again, or like, I'm sorry that happened, or just like being able to have some of those conversations. And every single time Duncan and Temperance stepped up to the line on those kind of conversations, they just went, and never mind. And I was just like, what is happening? Why is it happening? Because of that, I do think that one of the better things this book does in the resolution, and again, I don't want to spoil anything, but it does make sure that Temperance and Duncan kind of like resolve their own things themselves. And it's definitely not one of those books where like just getting together then fixes everything in their actual lives. It's just that like they don't actually talk about their own relationship, and that's fine somehow. Again, maybe it feels like there is more context for this relationship or more understanding of this relationship if you have read that other book first. I was reading some reviews of that one, and it was very clear from reviews, people could tell that Temperance and Duncan's book would be next. So clearly there is some kind of discussion, even though it's not their book, that they have a past and there's something going on there. So like, I don't know if that would have fixed it, but at the same time, again, my issue is only partially with feeling like I'm missing 4 books of content, but also that, you know, in this big moment when they finally do get together and do start discussing some of these things that have happened and the reasons that they broke up in the beginning and the reasons that they have not been able to successfully reinitiate their relationship despite how they continue to like run into each other throughout the last decade or so. This is the moment to have those deep conversations, and they just don't have them. There's nothing substantial that really seems to happen. It's just that, like, you know, they mention them, they kiss, and then everything just kind of falls into place. And so it was just missing, despite the incredible like tension between the characters, it was missing any type of resolution, which made me just incredibly irritated by the end. If you have read the first book in this series and you want to drop some comments down below about what you thought about that one, please do let me know. I do not feel positively enough about this book to go back and read that one, but I am super curious for other people who read these books in the right order, what happens in your reading experience. And maybe it's you didn't already read that book, but like you're watching this review and you realize, oh, like I need to read these books in the right order. And so you do that, and then you come back and tell me because I'm super curious. I need to go on and read like a different author now, because that was just really not satisfying what I find so interesting and wonderful about second chance romances. Again, this book is not out yet, so you will have to wait a little bit longer to make your own judgments about this book in particular. Just enough time to read the first book in this series if you haven't already. Otherwise, like I said, drop some comments down below, let me know what you think, and I will be back, maybe on the right day, with another review next week. Thanks guys, bye!